time excuses. By the end of this class, you'll have a simple plan to manage your studies, hobbies, and rest. Let's learn how to be smart with time, because the students who manage time top the class. Ready? Let's begin. Chapter 6. Micro-momentum. Everyone waits for motivation to make them act. They wait for clarity, confidence, or a clear plan to make the move. But the most successful individuals do not depend on motivation, they depend on momentum. Not just momentum, but micro-momentum. It is the momentum that starts with the slightest movement, a subtle decision made and the first step taken. In this chapter, we will discover how to use the unseen power of momentum, created in minutes, fueled by intent and grown over time. 6.1. The myth of the giant leap. We've bought into the myth that change is accomplished through a giant leap. That change is achieved through one big bang, one ideal day, or one magic moment. Hollywood movies, social media, and highlights reels have conditioned us to think that change can happen in a single night, instantaneously, or completely transform our lives. However, the truth of the matter is that change is almost never a giant leap. It is a climb, and it is one made up of small and consistent steps. The giant leap may make for good marketing, but not for an enduring life. Because change is the result of constant motion, not one-off efforts. In reality, expecting a big leap just means staying stuck. They don't act on what they should until all factors fall into place, until the calendar allows, the fear subsides, or the mood changes. But rarely does life provide such an atmosphere. Unless you have the right time to do things, you won't be doing anything ever. Momentum doesn't happen by itself. Momentum happens through movement, which might be untidy, imperfect, and not always attractive. This is why micro-momentum is such a game-changer. The barrier to entry gets lowered. Your brain gets to hear that, I'm in motion. And with that realization comes everything else. Micro-momentum isn't much to see on the outside. On the inside, though, it's revolutionary. It creates movement through the inertia of doing what everyone else does and keeps spinning around in circles. Micro-momentum proves to you that movement is always more valuable than idealism. In addition, the consistent efforts you make over time add up and lead to remarkable achievements. This chapter will explain how you can stop looking for the leap and create micro-momentum in your life instead. 6.2. Momentum instead of motivation. Motivation has a reputation of being magical. People wait for it, seek it, search it online and through books and videos, hoping it will come and inspire them to do things in the grandest scale possible. However, it is an emotional state. Moreover, it is unstable and unreliable. People can feel very inspired in the morning but feel disheartened by lunch because something unforeseen happened and put them in a bad mood. When their action is determined completely by how motivated they feel, they enter a risky situation of waiting and overthinking and failing in the end because the mood didn't match the circumstances. With micro-momentum, none of this is required. This approach shifts the control from your emotions and puts it within the realm of your choices. No longer do you have to wonder if you feel up to it. Rather, you start to wonder about small actions that you could take even if you don't feel like it. And that is an empowering way of thinking. That builds momentum. That shows your mind and body how to work together despite your less than ideal emotional state. And what people find surprising is that motivation comes out of action. As soon as you're in motion, the emotions tend to follow. This is the truth that great performers understand. Instead of waiting for the wave to carry them, they make the wave themselves. They work through small, habitual efforts that create trust and momentum, irrespective of their inspiration. Motivation is seen by them as an additional bonus rather than something mandatory. The great thing about micro-momentum is that it works even on bad days, when you feel distracted or overwhelmed, and when there is too much noise around. This way you have a tool for moving ahead which does not depend upon how you feel. And gradually your identity shifts from a person who needs a spark to just do it. 6.3 The importance of small steps, rather than perfection. Perfectionism is perhaps the most dangerous form of procrastination trap. We tend to believe that nothing should be done before it is perfect. This form of procrastination promises that we will have everything ready before we start. Perfect strategy, perfect state of mind, perfect energy. Yet the reality shows that most of our efforts fail just because we wait for perfect conditions. What we really need is not a better strategy, but rather an action. And the first simple step we take today is worth more than any perfection. Someday. Small steps aren't insignificant. They're fundamental. They work their way around resistance. They provide the feeling of achievement that gives you momentum. You accomplish something small, and the brain responds by rewarding you. The dopamine kicks in, the identity gets fortified, and your brain starts telling you, I am the type of person who keeps my promises. This is a subtle change, but a powerful one. Because it's not a lack of talent that makes people fail, it's a lack of momentum. They get caught in a vicious cycle of making plans but never actually doing anything. And the truly transformative changes remain locked away behind the myth of the perfect start. The truly successful individuals know how to act before they are prepared to do so. While they never compromise their standards, they certainly give up on perfectionism. They realize that clarity will only be achieved once they act. Therefore, they make the tiniest steps that matter, time after time. They make progress secretly, while others wait for the appropriate season. Over time, the tiniest steps lead to routines. The routines then turn into systems, which create success gradually and without drama. If your goal overwhelms you at this moment, you shouldn't be asking yourself, how can I achieve everything? But, what is the one thing that I can do in order to progress one tiny step ahead? This is how empires are built, inch by inch. 6.4 Momentum, obeying the law of motion. The law of motion of Newton says that an object that remains still will remain still, and an object that is moving will continue moving, unless there is some other force that acts on it. This is true for science, but in real life, this holds true for momentum and all our actions and behavior. Once you have momentum, it develops its own force, but the difficulty here is that most of us do not realize how hard it is to start momentum, and how easy it becomes once we have started moving. The toughest thing about writing a book is not to finish it at page 300, it is the first page. This is why micro-momentum becomes so important. It acknowledges our innate proclivity for inertia. Instead of trying to overcome it through sheer strength, it seeks to fight it with momentum, a small yet powerful move. 10 minutes working on something. 5 minutes cleaning up, writing one honest email, drinking 1 cup of water, taking a walk around the block. These are all actions that fight inertia without making us use all our willpower to do so. But once we start moving, everything changes. our mindset, our body's reaction. We have created the power of momentum. Why do people ask questions about how difficult their goals are? It's because they attempt to push forward something that isn't even moving yet. The secret is to start to move, wherever the direction may be and whatever goal they pursue, in order to use gravity on their side. Micro-momentum is the power to make things start moving from stillness. And moving accumulates. It creates confidence. It instills respect for oneself. It becomes self-propelled. They transition from "I need to motivate myself" to "I can't believe where I'm at." This law of motion exists not only in physics but in success too. Just start, and the momentum will do the rest. 6.5 The loop of confidence and progress. Confidence does not grow on hope that things will go well. Confidence grows on evidence of your actions and survival. Confidence is not formed inside the mind. Confidence is formed in action. Each step forward you make builds up evidence. This evidence builds trust, which builds confidence, which in turn builds even more progress. This is the loop of confidence and progress, and when you activate it, you get one of the most powerful instruments of change at your disposal, regardless of your upbringing, means, or environment. The issue is that most people attempt to create their sense of confidence prior to taking any action. They would like to feel prepared before they come, speak out, or do something else. Yet, confidence does not typically come in the waiting room. Confidence comes on the playing field. Confidence comes in the effort which is flawed. The only way to feel more confident in your ability to do challenging things is to start doing challenging things, and to begin with whatever version of courage is still within reach. This courage may not amount to much. This courage may consist in calling, in appearing somewhere new, or in accomplishing something that you have long put off. Over time, these messages create a new self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who might follow through, and start seeing yourself as someone who does. That identity shift doesn't just make you feel better, it makes your time more powerful. You waste less energy doubting. You hesitate less. You move more freely, with more direction and less internal noise. Micro-momentum doesn't just change your output, it rewires the way you see yourself. And once your identity changes, your entire world changes with it. 6.6 Momentum in maintenance. It is common for many people to think of momentum in terms of major events, the completion of the book, making the sale, dropping the weight, starting the business venture. However, most fail to realize that momentum comes from maintenance, not from any big events. It comes from the middle, from the part where the novelty has worn off and there is no more adrenaline left to drive it forward. People can easily get hyped up about something new and a fresh start, but it's what they do on day 17 that will build true momentum. It's in the maintenance stage that most people stop, because, although they are capable of doing more, they fail to see that what they are experiencing is a normal part of the process. Instead, their thought is, "I am not feeling as motivated as before. I must be doing something wrong." But what they don't understand is that plateaus are natural. They are part of the process. They form the foundation. What you don't need to do is feel like you're undergoing a major transformation every single day. This is precisely the reason that micro-momentum works so well. Success is not necessarily determined by large wins. Success is achieved through small consistencies. It allows one a method to stay in the game even when one is tired, distracted, or emotionally exhausted. For just a little bit of momentum is better than no momentum at all. And when the energy comes back, always, once again, you are ready because you have not quit or unraveled, you have maintained. 6.7 Progress is the cure for being overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed is not merely being busy with too much work to be done. It is more than that, because it is being stuck when you should be moving forward. It is the feeling of being stagnant despite your efforts to move and accomplish all the things on your agenda. Regardless of how busy you may think you are, as long as nothing moves, you become trapped by your overwhelm. Your to-do list continues to grow longer and your self-criticism becomes more frequent. However, there is only one thing that can help overcome overwhelm immediately. Every bit of advancement makes one forget the burden of uncertainty. One check mark in the list, one done task, one fulfilled promise. You do not have to complete everything, you just have to complete something. This will create clarity for you. The pressure of doing things will be taken off your mind. It will give you a place from where you can start. You understand that, all right, I can do this, not all of this, but I can do this part. Micro-momentum is engineered to tackle the problem of being overwhelmed from its roots. It allows you not to fight the whole mountain, but rather chip off one stone from it. That's enough, because movement does not have to be big for us to feel relieved and happy about it, only for us to feel it. Emotional satisfaction brought by a slight movement is often what triggers our hope back. Hope comes back, action follows, momentum picks up. The next time you find yourself drowning in tasks, do not ask how you can accomplish all of them. Ask how you can do the next one single task. And allow that act of doing it to restore your clarity. 6.8 Begin before you are ready. The belief that one must be completely ready before taking action is perhaps the biggest scam ever perpetuated on dreamers. It prevents creators from creating, leaders from leading, and agents of change from entering the field at all. In reality, there is no such thing as readiness as a precondition for success. It is something that you achieve through action. You cannot make yourself ready simply by thinking longer. You make yourself ready by simply starting anyway. Not rushing into something before you're prepared doesn't mean playing it safe. It means having the courage to do it anyway. It means believing in the inevitability of clarity during the process, and not before you start. The most impactful individuals in the world did not sit around until they figured everything out before getting started. They acted in accordance with whatever they knew at the time and adjusted along the way. They understood the reality that momentum can only be created, not waited for. And once you get to the point where you no longer require perfection to make things happen, that is when you will unleash the kind of power that very few ever realize. It relies on early movement. Micro-momentum does not require that you construct the entire bridge before you make your first step. It simply requires that you move. Move and write the email. Move and start the writing process. Move and accept the invitation despite the nagging voice telling you that you're not yet ready. Because being ready is not an endpoint. It's a consequence of showing up, especially in the face of that nagging voice. Move before you're ready. You will be surprised at how fast being ready shows up on your heels. 6.91 Victory dictates the day. The entire flow of your day is dependent on getting one victory early in the day. One victory, one productive task completed in your first hour, one time of action, one definitive decision, one 10-minute sprint for something worthwhile. By achieving one small victory early in your day, you will have changed your frame of mind from a passive one to a proactive one. It is not about accomplishing the most challenging thing. It is about creating a momentum of action that says, I am someone who takes action. It is a simple but profound idea that if you succeed in the first hour, you will influence the next 10 hours. Not because you have accomplished everything, but rather because you have accomplished something that matters. The flow of the day starts working for you rather than against. You start the day doing rather than reacting to what needs to be done. And you do not only become more productive, you also become more positive. Micro-momentum is very fond of the early win as it understands how the power of progress operates. Each small win creates the next one. Each burst of energy leads to focus. Each courageous step builds momentum. You do not have to accomplish your entire list to feel empowered. You just have to achieve one important thing. And once this happens, you make decisions from a different position. Change your mornings, change your weeks. Change your first action, change your mornings. 6.10 Stack wins, not pressure. The difference between stacking wins and stacking pressure is enormous. Most people stack pressure. They wake up already behind on things. Their to-do list is a way of guilt-tripping themselves. Their goals are actually a way of punishing themselves rather than bringing themselves fulfillment. They pursue results with pressure telling them, "You're not good enough until you get this done." But micro-momentum works in an entirely different way. It motivates us through progress, not pressure. Instead of focusing on all the things we've not done, it asks, what have you done that has put you in motion, and how can we build upon it? Stacking wins is about embracing your successes regardless of anything else. Stacking wins is about appreciating the worth of those tiny accomplishments and feeding off them. Sticking with one task, being grateful for having completed it, and not rushing ahead creates an emotional momentum. You trigger your brain and feel validated even by yourself. You start craving another success, not because you fear failing, but because you crave movement. And this is a major transformation that will help one immensely. Pressure kills possibilities, but achievements motivate one and multiply those possibilities. Emotional satisfaction from minor successes helps make major success more achievable. One does not fear climbing a mountain, since he/she is halfway there and feels that way. Micro-momentum teaches one how to start his/her day not by putting pressure on one's shoulders, but rather by collecting successes underneath his/her feet. All successes, even the slightest ones, become stepping stones. And after a while, the question that one asks oneself changes from, "Can I do it?" to "Look how far I have come." 611 Consistency is the real power move. Consistency is never flashy. It never shines bright enough to be considered viral. It never receives the accolades that groundbreaking successes receive. However, in every field, health, creation, business, relationships, consistency is where the power lies. It is what makes the difference between dreams that flourish and those that die. It is what leads to mastery, gains trust, and delivers results that appear almost magical. However, consistency isn't born of discipline. It is born of momentum. The most dependable type of momentum, however, is the microscopic kind. Micro-momentum does not demand perfection. Micro-momentum does not care if you are quick. Micro-momentum cares that you keep coming back, that you turn up even when it is easy to quit, that you keep writing your next sentence even if the previous day was a disappointment, that you place your next call even if the previous one was a failure. Micro-momentum gives you the freedom to fail and succeed as a human being, and yet make things happen, since consistency is not about not ever getting lost, but how quickly you come back. This is the part that people seem to fail to understand. People take consistency for rigidity, no days off, no mistakes made. But true consistency is always flexible. Consistency is bendable rather than breakable. It has quick recovery. Momentum is not created by streaks. It is created by returns. Micro-momentum makes sure this remains possible, even after a bad day, even after an entire week of failing. You can start over at any time, and each time you do, you are aware that progress is just one step away. Consistency doesn't have that oomph factor about it. However, it is very powerful. Consistency is the gap between wanting something to happen and being the type of person who makes it happen. Through baby steps, repeatedly, consistently, constantly, that is how success is achieved and claimed. 6.12 Small successes build big differences. Big things do not happen through one big bang. Big things happen through small successes that build upon each other day by day until there's some fundamental change. What we've been trained to believe is that the breakthrough experience is what really matters: the launch, the promotion, the before and after photo, the award. But all highlight reels are made up of countless decisions, most of which go unseen, not through extraordinary effort, but simple consistency. Consider your health body, which doesn't come from being at the gym for one day a month. It comes from all those little things that nobody notices: drinking water, sleeping, and exercising even though you feel exhausted. Business isn't built on one viral campaign, but is built through all those little emails that are sent, all those little relationships that are built, all those 100 edits. Those things can be overlooked since they're so tiny. It is precisely why they are so dangerous. You won't see their impact right away, but eventually, weeks later, months later, and years later, the compounding effect will occur. Small wins aren't just steps to take you somewhere. They define who you are. Small wins are like votes that you cast for the type of person you want to be. The writer pens down a paragraph. The leader takes the plunge into a courageous conversation. The visionary takes one step forward, and the parent spends more time around the dinner table. These things may seem trivial, yet they are sacred. This is how the invisible comes into view. This is the reason why you realize that the pursuit of miracles is pointless, that the process has to be trusted. Don't underrate a small victory simply because it appears mundane. It's from the accumulation of these mundane actions that some of the greatest lives have been created. 6.13 Tiny habits, huge results. The importance of the effects of such a little thing can often get overlooked. A 2-minute practice, a 5-minute reflection, a minute check-in. No one ever thinks that any of these things matter at all, which is exactly why they don't give any importance to these things. However, small practices are not supposed to bring us any immediate effect. It's supposed to transform us. What we keep on doing, regardless of how small an act it is, forms the basis of everything else. What makes small habits effective? Sustainability. You can repeat them. You can come back to them. Momentum follows from the habit without the need for motivation. They build slowly behind the scenes of your life, just like compound interest. One day may not make too much of a difference to you, but 100 days, a whole year, that's when changes become obvious. Another thing about small habits is that they provide a sense of trust. Trust that you will be able to keep yourself on track and that you are building into someone trustworthy and resilient. It may be that you write 1 paragraph a day, drink an additional glass of water, do 5 extra minutes of physical activity, or have an honest discussion every night. Whatever these actions may be, they will add up. They will build up over time. They will subtly alter your course, and your course is your destiny. So pick your small habits wisely and guard them accordingly. 6.1% for identity through repetition. Often, we assume that our identities arise from the major accomplishments that we have achieved, major events in our lives, and even through recognition that has come from our actions. The truth of the matter is that our identities are much more formed by the actions that we take repeatedly rather than the accomplishments that we achieve. We form the identities of who we believe ourselves to be through our consistent actions, not just our actions when everyone is watching, but our actions in private. Small wins repeated over time will change not only our outcomes but also our identities. Repetition is not only an approach, but a signal too. Every time you repeat an action, you are sending a message to yourself, I'm like this now. By writing every day, you become a writer. By being kind every day, you turn into a person of generosity. And by exercising on a regular basis, no matter how insignificant your exercise may seem, you start seeing yourself as somebody who cares about his/her well-being. The key point here is not in the degree of your efforts, but rather in their regularity. This is what makes micro-momentum so revolutionary, since it allows you to cement your identity without the necessity for perfection. You do not have to summit a mountain to become powerful, you just have to take another step on that mountain every single day. This is how you become unstoppable, not through power but through proving. Identity is the source, actions are the proof, and repetition is the way there. 6.15 Invisible progress is still progress. We exist in a society where everything has to be visible. If you cannot post it, track it, or quantify it, it does not feel real. Yet, some of the greatest progress that you will ever achieve is going to be invisible, at least for some time. You will put in all the effort required. You will do the work day in and out. You will develop new habits, a new way of thinking, energy management, and then you will ask yourself whether what you are doing is making any difference at all. And the answer to that will almost always be yes. Invisible progress takes place under the surface. It is seen through your reaction to pressure, your ability to recover from failure, and your self-perception if you have had a bad day. It is resilience within you. It is a more focused mind. It is emotional maturity. These cannot receive any form of external praise and acknowledgement. However, they are the building blocks of all the external success that will happen next. The best innovations always come after a period of silence. This is why it is crucial to appreciate the small victories even when no one else notices them, no matter how insignificant they may seem. This is because each of the quiet decisions builds up momentum. Each small amount of energy that you put into building yourself is paving the way for the future. It does not matter that you cannot see its results. Trust that your efforts do make sense. 6.1% 6. Resets fit into the pattern. People tend to think that momentum is fragile and that if it breaks down, everything else fails. This is one of the biggest myths keeping people caught in patterns of guilt and sabotage. Momentum is tough stuff. It does not go away simply because you take a day, a week, or even a month off. In some cases, what happens after your hiatus is more important than the hiatus itself. Resets do not mean failure. They are a part of the pattern of sustainable success. Everyone who has accomplished anything sustainable in life, from business to health to creativity or leadership, has done so not through streaks but through recovery. There is no need for perfection for momentum. There is a need for return. The ability to return, to get back on track, to restart that little habit or win without any fuss at all, is what makes a lifestyle change possible. The sooner you return after a little stop, the better your system gets. Why? Because intentional resetting teaches you that progress is not a straight path. It's a complex process. It can bend and stop, but it always builds. And it grants you emotional freedom as well. No more spirals of guilt, just reset and go. The reset is the unsung hero behind momentum. The reset is what keeps things working but goes unnoticed by everyone. Design a structure which incorporates recovery as well as action. Have your resets be gentle, quick, and regular. This will allow you to stop quitting and start continuing. 6.17 The ripple effect of a good decision. With each decision you make, you start a ripple effect. Each little win is just the tip of the iceberg, because a decision can have a big impact. You decide to get up and work out in the morning, which boosts your mood. With an elevated mood, you are able to interact positively with your family members. Because of your peace of mind, your team meeting turns out to be more productive. You make good decisions all through the day, have a healthy meal, get quality sleep, and come up stronger tomorrow. And this is the secret power of micro-momentum. All choices you make, big or small, either add to your future or diminish it. Once you start recognizing all those little wins as a catalyst for a chain reaction of positive outcomes, your entire perspective on taking action shifts. You are no longer undervaluing those 5 minutes of stretching, those 3 minutes of journaling, that brief pause in between tasks. Instead, you start recognizing their true power for what it is, a force multiplier. The changes in your life do not happen during the grand speeches. They occur in the small ripples created by intentional living. A single positive decision can undo the effects of several negative ones. A single change of focus is enough to turn your week around. That is not an exaggeration. Energy simply works that way. The quality of one decision affects the quality of the next one. Add them up, and soon you will have a new identity forming. 6.18 Micromomentum overcomes burnout. Burnout is not only a result of overworking, but working in the wrong direction, or in the place where there is no movement at all. There is an emotional exhaustion when you feel like you're trying, doing your best, and getting nowhere. So the solution to overcoming burnout is not only in taking a break, though taking a break is important. What is even more important is making a small step forward, a sign of movement and progress to show your body that you're moving somewhere. Micromomentum is the cure for burnout in the sense that it provides you with progress without any stress. It creates a sense of direction without necessarily requiring intensity. You do not have to be sprinting, you just have to be in motion. Burnout loves stasis and hopelessness. However, momentum, regardless of its size, provides hope. It gives a goal to your efforts. It is even more relevant for projects that take place over extended periods of time, through tough seasons, and through very personal dreams. The process may be slow, and the results may not show immediately, but by continuing to find little gains here and there, one builds emotional endurance. Micro-momentum will not be only a strategy, but a lifesaver in the long run. 6.19 Success occurs according to the rhythm, not the rush. This society worships velocity. We need fast results, quick gains, and amazing transformations. However, we have to understand that transformation does not occur because of rush, but according to the rhythm. Those who achieve amazing results are rarely those who run the fastest. On the contrary, they are those who continue running in the rhythm for the longest possible time. They develop rhythms of success. They discover their paces, which they can keep. And gradually, their success seems magical, but actually it is just the result of preserved momentum. Haste causes waste. It brings about unsustainable pressure. It causes one to lose focus of the basics, sacrifice quality for quantity, rush for all the wrong reasons. Rhythm, however, endures. It takes into consideration your capacity. It allows you to rest without ceasing and grow without tiring yourself. It produces much more than just success. It produces transformation through identity. This idea of micro-momentum helps create rhythm because it is not about being all or nothing. You can operate at your own speed. It could be that there are good weeks and bad weeks. It is fine. The rhythm accommodates that. As long as you continue to move, honestly and deliberately and slightly, then you'll keep making something happen. Forget speed. Cultivate rhythm. Rhythm is where success resides. 6.20 Alignment over intensity. Some of the most freeing ideas you will ever accept are that you don't have to do it all, you simply have to do what aligns. Too much intensity without alignment equals burnout. You could work around the clock, mark off 100 tasks on your list, work outside of your limits, and yet feel completely stuck. This is because progress isn't measured by effort. Progress is measured by the alignment of your effort to your priorities, your values, and your purpose. Micro-momentum gives you space to check in. It asks not, how much are you doing? But, does what you're doing matter? This shift in question is subtle but transformational. When your actions come from alignment, you feel energized even in the effort. You're connected to your why. You're clear about what success actually looks like for you, not just for the world. And because you're no longer wasting energy on things that don't move the needle, your time becomes more meaningful. Your energy becomes more efficient. And your wins, no matter how small, feel purposeful. Intense flames burn out fast, but alignment, it creates fires that never burn out. 6.21 Time integrity of tiny wins. Time integrity is the practice where your minute-by-minute life aligns with your values. In essence, it is being true to yourself in terms of the way you spend your time. Being in alignment is when you live up to your deepest priorities and convictions. Time integrity is when what you do aligns with who you are. Time integrity does not need huge chunks of time. It needs tiny wins, small actions of truth that demonstrate your integrity in action. 10 minutes of exercise for your health, 1 chapter read with your child. 15 minutes of work on your creative endeavor. Most people think they lack time, but what they often lack is a design system rooted in alignment. They wait for the perfect day to express their values, but perfect days are rare. Tiny wins are how you express integrity in real life, with all its noise, chaos, and unpredictability. And every time you make one of these choices, your self-respect grows. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, Not when it's easy, but when it's important. The issue of time integrity does not deal with gaining more time. It deals with getting more out of the time you already have, and that always starts with one simple step. 6.2 Summary: the little things that make all the difference. That you're reading this text right now proves that you understand one thing other people miss. The greatest transformative power does not come from major breakthroughs or dramatic actions. It comes from accumulating little wins. Micro-momentum is not for the lazy times. It's the magic wand of making things happen when you no longer feel motivated to do so. It is your inspiration when there's no one else who can inspire you. It's your way of living a beautiful life both on paper and in heart. In this chapter, you have been able to see how momentum is possible within minutes, that one success can affect your whole day, that invisible momentum works powerfully, that results come from rhythm and not rushing, that peace comes from integrity and not intensity. But mostly that you don't have to know everything before getting started, you just have to get started. Small steps. Repeated. Aligned. That's the equation. It works in every area of life. The size of your wins doesn't matter. The direction of your momentum does. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for a break in the chaos. Start with whatever you have. Right where you are, let the next tiny win become your breakthrough. Great job, everyone. Today we learned the secret. Balance. Plan your study time, enjoy your playtime, and don't waste either. Small habits today equal to big success tomorrow. Thanks for being here and paying attention. Have a productive day.